Today's guest is female fat loss coach and podcast host Shane Walsh, host of the number two, the number two top ranking health and fitness podcast in Ireland behind Brian Kane Fitness. I know, Shane, you're on a mission to catch him, as you were saying. But Shane, welcome to the Lifestyle Lifter Show. Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, we met a couple of weeks ago, and I'm delighted to. Yeah, I'm gonna catch Brian one day.
that can be the target of mine, Shane. And
Yeah.
Shane, before we kind of get into you sharing your backstory, Shane, share something about yourself that most people do not know.
Oh, that's a tricky question. I would say I'm gonna go. I've gone back into playing football or soccer, as the Americans call it, at a club level for the first time in about 10 years. I've come out of retirement at nearly 35.
Oh, unbelievable, man. Unbelievable. What club are you playing with, Shane?
Town United. So like they play on a Saturday. I can't remember what league it is, but I used to play at club level up until about 25 and then just fell out of love with it. So going back into it now, give it one last hurrah before the body shuts down.
Awesome stuff. Awesome stuff. Brilliant. Brilliant. So obviously, Shane, you're a full-time online fitness coach, but you didn't just start there, Shane. So would you mind just sharing a bit about your backstory, how you previously would have worked in, sales and consulting before kind of working on your passion as you previously spoke about?
Yeah, so like mine's a little bit of a weird entry into kind of fitness and nutrition. Like I would have been active in my 20s and stuff, and then I kind of gave up football and stuff, and didn't know what I was doing. I enjoyed my nights out of it too much. And then in 27, I worked in sales and recruitment for 5 or 6 years. And
Yeah.
then in 2017, I started a new job in the April on the Monday, and then I was admitted to hospital on the Saturday, and it was my arm was really really swollen on the Saturday morning. Rang my folks and they were kind of like, "Ah, I'll be grand." Well, my dad was anyway. But then I rang
Yeah.
my mate's now husband, and he was
Mm.
like, "Well, you need to go to the doctor." So it turned out I had a two blood clots in my left arm. They couldn't
Wow.
find them. They couldn't find the top one for ages. So one was on my trap and one was at the top of the forearm. So the arm was about 6 times the size of what it should be, and then a rash on the forearm and fluid in my elbow.
Wow.
So I was in hospital for a week, had to get surgery to open up the veins. I was awake for the surgery. They put a camera in with the balloon and opened up the veins, which was pretty cool to see. They put dye in through the veins, and it's like that you can see the blood, the blue dye go around your body, which is pretty cool. Some people get squeamish. I found it really cool. And then went back into the office 2 weeks later, and within half an hour collapsed on my desk with fluid in my lungs. So I was like, right, my body's trying to tell me something. And then I fell into a pretty bad place, a dark place mentally. Was very, very bad for a long time. And I kind of was more situational depression more than the chemical imbalance. Just
Yeah.
unhappy with life and all that kind of stuff. And then found kind of like I lost a lot of weight quite quickly just through not eating. And when I get stressed or down, I don't eat. I'm the opposite of what most people do.
Wow. Interesting, man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so there's
Very.
two responses normally. So I'm the one
Yeah.
that doesn't eat. Some people be like, I'm quite jealous of that. I was like, no, it's not. It's not a positive either. It's especially when you're trying to put on a little bit of
Of
muscle and stuff.
course. Yeah.
So I started doing training with like Joe Wicks and did the body coach program and jumping around the living room and wrecking my kneecaps. And I loved it. It was great. And I was kind of like, if I can get into shape, anyone can get into shape. And then
Yeah.
went traveling, and then we were traveling around with people, and people were asking to kind of like, can we join in and all that kind of stuff. So I enjoyed that side of things. Then January, I did my PT course in January 18, a fully qualified PT, went into one of the commercial gyms in Dublin, did that for 2 years, and then was doing the online while I was doing the face to face, and then went fully online 10 weeks before we went into lockdown.
Wow. Okay. So January 18 to
December,
to
December
December
19,
20.
sorry,
Yeah,
December
yeah.
19, and then December 19 to now it's been fully online.
Wow. Yeah, awesome, man. And Shane, you started your podcast then in 2018 as well. Is that correct?
Yeah, the towards the end of 18, after meeting Brian was like, you need to do a podcast. So I said, I'll come on the episode after episode 20. And I was like, right, that's the incentive. He knew how to incentivize me. He came on episode 11, I think it was.
Unbelievable.
So I haven't looked
Wow.
back since. Yeah.
Unbelievable. Oh, so fantastic stuff so far. That's so inspiring. Shane, I used to be a teacher myself, and like that now, just maybe didn't feel 100% fulfilled before I got into this line of work. And once you get working on your passion, there's so much power to it, and it just gives you so much purpose in life, Shane. So you're a fat loss coach primarily. That is what you specialize in. So before we just, fat loss, it's not gender specific. Guys, just as much as girls want to lose fat, and the principles really remain the same, Shane. So what would you say, like just in your coaching experience to date, are some of the common misconceptions which people have around fat loss?
Yeah, there's so many. Like it's really hard to find a place to start, but I think the main one is that dieting has to be miserable. I
Yeah,
think a lot of people, dieting is hard, nutrition is easy. Like nutrition is easy as a concept, but I would say dieting is difficult, and I would say muscle gain is even more difficult.
yeah, yeah,
But I think when people overcomplicate the most simple things, like people, when you hear about protein, people are like, oh, how often should I have it? How quickly should I have it after meals or after training? It's like, just focus on getting regular protein in. Like there's no,
gotcha.
just keep it simple. Like there's no need to overcomplicate it. But I think a lot of people, when they hear diet and they hear the word misery, they hear, I can't have this, I'm going to be good today. I they cut out the favorite foods. Like they're the things that people are going to resonate with, and the sentences that people are going to resonate with. Like dieting doesn't have to be miserable. Like I
Yeah,
will always say to my clients, and always get them to ask their partners and their kids, is mommy or daddy a happier person with carbs and chocolate in their life? And the answer 100% of the time is yes. So if you're happier with those in your life, why are you taking them out? You're making it more difficult for yourself. So
right.
people, the other misconceptions, you can't have carbs.
Yeah,
Well, carbs are what fuels the body. Your body's preferred source of energy is carbohydrates. It's like trying to start a car with an eggplant. Like it's not going to go too well. Fill it with proper fuel and it will work for you. So carbs will not make you fat. Carbs will not make you overweight. If carbs made people overweight, every single person who has carbs would be overweight. And that's me being blunt, but that's the case. Like women, we need carbs in order to ovulate. Men need carbs in order to function. Women need carbs in order to function and just be happier in general. So why cut them out? Like carbs are class. Like I love ice cream, so like ice cream is a carb. So why would I cut that out? So you don't need to cut carbs. Carbs are not a sin food. They're not, like, sin food is a BS term. And then one of the ones is that like the scales is the only metric of success.
yes.
And if you're coming from a kind of a certain club background, or slimming club background, you're kind of taught that you're a better
Yeah.
person if you're lower in weight, and a bad person if you're higher in weight.
Mm,
But the scales is only a number. Like it's not accurate. Like there's a difference between weight loss and fat loss. Weight loss is
of
what a
course.
piece of plastic tells you. Fat loss is your body composition and
Yeah.
your fat distribution and how you're feeding in your clothes, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I focus a lot on non-scale victories with my clients. Or like, how are you
Brilliant.
feeling your clothes? How's your libido? Are you more confident? Are you
Yes.
more energy with your kids? Are you being nicer to yourself? Are you going up in weights when you're in the gym? Are you
Yes.
having sex with the lights on? Some of the most like simple things that will really help you in focusing on those, because you've no control over what that scales is going to read,
Yeah.
but you have control over what you do on a daily basis. And
Absolutely.
if you feel better in yourself, a piece of plastic can't really tell you that. It's kind of like a piece of plastic to tell you that you're happy. It's kind of like using your bank balance to tell you how good you are at sex. Like they're not
Yeah.
correlated in any way. But people just put themselves onto a scales and like, well, I've been good. Why are the scales not going down? It's like, no, you haven't been good, because foods, you can't, there's no morals with them. You haven't been good. You may have been consistent, but you've probably been consistent for about 4 or 5 days. What about the other 360 days?
Yeah.
What about,
So,
like, consistency is the biggest thing. Like I think a lot of people overcomplicate that. And
yes.
consistency in people's heads now will be like, well, consistency means restriction. That's not what we're saying. Is like,
Yeah.
if you're having more regular meals and more often than not, if you're getting more veggies and protein in, you're probably doing a hell of a lot more than
Yeah.
what you normally would have been if you just focus on the real, really big basics.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. I mean, amen to all of that. Carbs not being the enemy, getting rid of that all or nothing mentality that, everything needs to be perfect. When I do something, I'm gonna do it right. I go all in, as opposed to, as you saying, if chocolate makes you happy, well then 100% continue on eating chocolate. There is no rule that says you cannot lose weight, you cannot lose fat without including your favorite foods. And I love the way multiple metrics of success. How are you feeling? Confidence in your clothes. Is your performance in the gym? How is your energy levels? How is your stress? How are you feeling when you're socializing? These are all fantastic metrics. And as you said, non-scale wins. That is awesome. Any kind of common misconceptions, not conceptions, you see, Shane, just around maybe clients in relation to actually strength training. The whole adage of like maybe weight training makes you bulky, or you got to do cardio. Have you encountered any of those challenges
Yeah, I
or,
think
or,
the
or misconceptions? I would say, not challenges.
yeah, I would say the biggest one is I think an awful lot of people use kind of weight training or exercise as a way of burning calories.
Yeah.
And I think genuinely when I've seen clients drop that kind of self-imposed rule,
Mm,
they've seen better results. So, like, if you think about the amount of calories that you burn on a total daily basis, only about 5% of that is through exercise.
yeah.
You actually burn more calories through digestion and from walking or from just
Yes.
fidgeting and being, and your metabolism is working. Like, I'm burning calories right now by talking, moving my hands, moving the microphone. So, I don't think people realize how much of a impact that has.
Yes.
So, if you're looking at your fitness watch and saying, well, I've burnt this many calories in a class or I've burnt this many calories on a walk, it's not accurate because it's not taking into account one, your metabolism, it's not tailored to you, and it's not taking in your gender, it's not taking in where you are at your cycle, it's not taking in your age, it's not taking in your movement elsewhere. It's not accurate. Like, if they could be up to, some research is saying even 50%. Like, if you got 50% less of
Oh,
your salary on a daily, on a monthly basis, you would notice the difference. But why are you still focusing on that? Like, the calories burnt shouldn't be the goal. What should be the goal is, are you being consistent? The goal should be, are you progressing either your lifts with reps? Are you increasing your lifts with the weights going up? Are you progressing your lifts by getting your form correct? And focusing on those will get you a lot better results than focusing on a calorie burn or a heart rate zone or whatever it may be. Those are great ways to incentivize people, but more often than not, they're not accurate. And we only burn about 5% of our total calories through
yeah.
actual exercise on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Like, you're really sweating the small stuff, pardon the pun.
Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely. And even just in relation to like cardio and exercise, like I think cardio is underrated for the health, the longevity, the benefits it actually does have, but it's overrated when people just use it as a way to burn more calories. It's not to say that it's bad or that something is good, but it's more so your mindset and your mentality around that. And absolutely, like just focus on the benefits that strength training and just training in general has, as opposed to using it as a metric to burn more calories. So, even with some people, burn more calories so I can eat more food, which is a slippery slope as well to go down, Shane. So let's just kind of segue slightly, Shane, because you obviously mentioned the cycle there, and obviously that's an area that you particularly specialize in. So I know there is no one size fits all approach, Shane, but like, what would you say are just some like general training and nutrition advice for women around their cycle?
I think the biggest sentence that I would say around this is, every single woman is unique. None of you guys are the same. No woman is the same in relation to how the body works. The other piece of information I would kind of recommend is tracking your cycle.
Yeah.
So there are apps like Kindara, Clue. You can use Natural Cycles as well, and they send out a thermometer to you, which is handy. And then there's also, you can just use a pen and paper and seeing what trend you notice of, when are you hungrier, when are you able to push your sessions, when are you a little bit weaker, when are you bloated, when are you getting your PMS, when is your mood dropping, and noticing that side of things, you'll be able to notice. And there's an amazing kind of analogy, and it's not scientifically backed, but it's comparing the menstrual cycle to the seasons of the year.
Yeah.
So if you think about like summer, autumn, spring, winter, and pinpoint your cycle, or say
Yeah.
ovulation into your spring, you could have more energy, you could have a stronger libido, a bit more confidence. Summer, you're ready to take on the world. That could be your week before, could be leading into ovulation. Winter could be your 2-3 days beforehand or your cycle week. And kind of think of it like that as an analogy and pinpoint where that is actually happening for you.
Sure.
With the kind of like the training and nutrition, if you track your cycle, you'll know when you're stronger. Some people will be like, why am I really, really weak on this certain week? Why am I really strong on this week? And it's your body. Your body's
Yeah.
it's a normal natural response. And every single woman will be different. I've had clients who are like so strong on ovulation week, and I've had clients who are so strong on their week off. It depends on the person. So tracking it will say, right, I'm going to push my sessions here, and then you'll know when to ease off. But
Yeah.
the whole thing about knowing when, it's like generally as a rule of thumb, I would say the first 2 weeks post bleed are when you're stronger. Second 2 weeks leading up, you may be a little bit weaker. But I've seen a change for different women. So you'll need to know. And if you're kind of pinpointing, pigeonholing yourself as weaker on the last 2 weeks, but you feel you're stronger, go for it. If you're meant to be stronger and you're weaker, well then ease off.
Yeah.
Don't like they're general recommendations, but they're not set in stone. Like it's up to the individual, it's up to the woman. You could find that you're hungrier as well, and that's normal to be hungrier. Your metabolism speeds up. So give yourself 300 extra calories or go up to maintenance on those times. Aim for more protein, aim for regular meals, aim for whole grain carbohydrates, that
Yeah.
side of things, and knowing when you need those. And then the times you're a little bit weaker or a little bit, your mood like goes down a little bit, that might be the time where you're like, right, I'm just going to go for a walk. That will not be the week for you to do a load of hit sessions or a load of running.
Yes.
That will be the week to take the foot off the gas and saying, right, what do I need right now? I need a week or 3 or 4 days where I'm just going to focus on getting my nutrition in, focusing on my sleep, reducing my potential caffeine, and reducing my alcohol. People won't like the last two things I've just said there.
Yeah, yeah, the caffeine and the alcohol.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so it starts out, Shane, what I'm hearing you say is the importance of tracking, number one, because everyone is different. And then as a result of this tracking, you're going to know when you can ramp up your training and maybe push a bit harder, when you can scale it back and maybe just, ease off a small bit. And then in relation to nutrition, so we speak about bumping up the calories by 200 to 300 around certain periods of time, and then just segueing off that then, Shane, you obviously mentioned the alcohol and the caffeine. What about, because this is often common too, like sugar cravings, what would you recommend for any women who do have cravings around their cycle?
My clients are going to be like, I'm fed up of listening to this. So generally, if we get a sugar craving, it's generally a sign that our body isn't getting enough either energy into our body, we're restricting, or
Yeah,
we're not getting enough carbohydrates, which is the body's preferred source of energy, into the body.
yeah,
So if you are getting sugar cravings, your body's trying to tell you something. It's giving you feedback, which is, I'm restricting. So most people will restrict, unfortunately. They're either not giving themselves carbohydrates because they're fear of it's going to gain weight. You won't gain weight. That's a fact. If you're within a calorie range and on a consistent basis, or else you are potentially cutting out your favorite foods. So what that 300 calorie recommendation does is it bumps it up and gives you that little bit more of a window for you to have that little bit more food. That could be, have that chocolate bar if you want to have it. Have a little bit more fruit because that has sugar in it too. Have carbohydrates. Whole grains will help you a lot more, because what will happen is if you've white starchy carbohydrates when you're sugar craving, it will spike up your energy levels and your blood
yeah,
sugar levels and crash back down really quickly, like a heart rate monitor, up and down,
absolutely.
up and down. But if you have whole grain, it will steady it a lot more. It will go up a little bit and will kind of just go down a little bit slower. So you won't be as hungry so quickly. Because I know when I've seen it so often with kind of women and stuff like that, and men, we have it a lot easier in relation to the amount of stuff that we have to deal with on a daily basis. But if you're craving, it's a sign you need more fuel into your body. You're either completely stressed to absolute hilt, you're not getting enough sleep, you're either restricting, you're either not having some chocolate, or you're not getting enough kind of carbohydrates, whole grains into your
Yeah,
body. And that's what the feedback is
gotcha.
for a lot of people.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it's usually it's usually a sign that something else is off, whether it's lifestyle, stress, sleep related, calorie related, that needs to be addressed. And you obviously speak about whole grain carbohydrates, Shane. So just for listeners here who are curious, what would be some of your recommended sources of whole grain carbs that you'd recommend?
Yeah, so like with the whole grain carbs and stuff, I would always recommend trying to get them as much as possible from the likes of veggies and root veggies and whole grain rice and kind of sweet potatoes and
Yeah.
that the whole grain bagels and all that kind of stuff. Like there's plenty of them out there. Like the fruit will help to get that sugar hit as well because there is a sweet tooth in it. So if someone is, there's two types of women generally. There's either sweet or savory. It's
Yeah.
either those who like chocolate or those who like kind of like pancakes and crisps, or some like both. There's no judgment. Chocolate and crisps. Have you ever had it? It's pretty good.
They actually
Um,
go quite well,
they
yeah.
do, but if you don't get, you can only do it one way. If you do it the wrong way, it ends in disaster.
Wash down
Um,
with a bottle of Coke, man.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, I think it like whole grains will help as well because I think what a lot of some women can have an impact when they're kind of coming up towards their cycle and they might feel a little bit more bloated and they might feel they a little bit they may get constipated or their digestion slows down. So that's a sign that your body's not getting enough either water or fiber into the body.
Yeah.
And the only way to get rid of your old cycle is to poo it out. And it regenerates like a snake skin. It kind of completely regenerates. So you need to be able to have enough fiber and digestive help in order to get rid of your old cycle. So it's less painful, less bloating, and it won't be as uncomfortable on the body. And then what will happen then is it'll regenerate at the beginning if you're not pregnant. And then what will happen again is it will go through that same cycle each month. But whole grains, fiber, fruit, veggies, think of the really, really big basics that we talk about on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Make your plate as colorful as possible.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, these are fundamentals, though. To be fair, like it's not just for cycle aside, but like these are just fundamental principles that everyone should try to abide to. That you get more protein in, you get more whole grain, you get more real foods in. You don't restrict yourself. You manage your sleep, you manage your lifestyle, you manage your stress. These are fundamental principles that are all kind of in one big umbrella of just living a healthier lifestyle chain. But speaking of lifestyle, it's just Shane, can you like just talk about the importance of actually managing stress then? Um, just in general, like for women would say around their cycle.
Yeah. So generally, if PMS is happening, it's generally a sign that something is not right in the body. And the body feels a little bit like it goes into kind of safety mode. So if there's too much stress or not enough sleep on the body will go into kind of safety mode and will kind of say, right, something's up here. It's kind of like a thing called homeostasis, which means the body is in
Yeah,
balance. And if it's kind of think of that like a kind of a the old school scales or the scales of justice thing that you kind of see on logos and stuff, that if that field is kind of in any way out of whack, it's
yeah,
giving you feedback and it may increase your appetite. It may decrease your mood. It may kind of decrease your cycle regularity. That's why if you track your cycle, see what's normal for you. If your
yeah,
cycle goes shorter or longer, heavier or lighter, you'll
yeah,
know by tracking your cycle, you see what's normal for you. But if any of those happen, the body is telling you, like there's an amazing book called The Body Keeps the Score. And that will be, it would keep a scorecard of saying, right, the body's like 2-0 up or 1-0 down or whatever it is.
gotcha.
And think of it that way. Like stress, I think a lot of people when they think of stress is like nervous breakdown. That's what a lot of people think it is. But stress could be that you got deadline at work. You could that be that one of your kids is sick.
Yeah,
You could be that this financial woe at the minute, like there's a massive financial strain on a lot of people right now, unfortunately. It could be that there's relationship stuff going on. Like
yeah,
stress doesn't necessarily mean that you need to be like anxious all the time. It
yeah,
could be just one of these things that you're holding on to all the time. You're always
yeah,
on the go. You're not getting enough sleep. You're out in the piss every single weekend, not looking after yourself. And the body,
yeah.
if you're getting sick or getting head colds all the time, it's a sign your immune system
Yes.
isn't being looked after, and that's generally a great response as well.
Yeah.
And like the stress will have a massive impact on your appetite, your hunger. If you there's two responses to stress really. Me doesn't really eat when I get stressed,
Eat. Yeah.
or there's the one which most people, a lot of people would relate to is I can't stop eating when I get stressed.
Gotcha.
But
Yeah.
that's the inability to deal with the stress. And for the person who doesn't eat, it's wanting to avoid the stress, and they
Yeah.
see a higher purpose in not
Yeah.
in avoiding the stress.
So how would you say then, Shane, what would you say are some good practices to actually help deal with stress?
I would the biggest one the biggest thing for me would be have some sort of daylight exposure early in the morning. And people be like, well, my kids are kind of waking up in the middle of the night and stuff. It's not always viable. I'm conscious of that. I get if you get daylight exposure earlier in the day, so our bodies are more stressed first thing in the morning compared to last thing at night, because you think about it, your eyes are closed and then light comes into the room, so your body's like, what are you doing to me? That's essentially what the stress is. And then as you go through the rest of the day, you'll notice that you're a little bit sleepier, energy will go down. That's your melatonin increasing, and that'll put you into your
Yeah.
deep sleep. So if you get daylight exposure earlier in the morning, it almost gives you this sense of calm, sense of kind of serenity,
Yeah.
and it will ease you into the day. Another thing that I would kind of recommend is boundaries. If I was to go through someone listening to this calendar right now, where is their you time in their calendar?
Yeah.
My guess is there's nothing in there. And people were like, yeah, but I'm always on the go. It's like, yes, but that's because you're saying yes to everything
Yeah.
and nothing to yourself. It's like, but I have no time. It's like every time I'm cautious of saying this. I'm not a parent. And I've seen it with my mates who are parents, like I have no time. It's like 100%. Like, but they have time to potentially 4 hours at night to watch Netflix, and that's what they want to do.
Gotcha.
Amazing,
Yeah.
but they have time.
It's just not a priority.
And that may sound like an asshole comment. I'm
Yeah.
conscious of that, but that's not my
Yeah.
intention. But it's just about kind of saying what can I do today? Like I know, like we had this booked in from about 2 weeks ago. I know this morning my alarm goes off, I get a little alert on my calendar saying, right, you're going for a walk. I get a
Yeah.
little alert on my
I love
phone,
it, man.
you're going for a training, because I could leave it up to motivation. And like my training hasn't been great at the minute because I'm trying to increase my cardio vascular running stuff
Yeah.
in order for a pre-season, which is tonight, and I'm shit scared of it. So this might be the last podcast I ever do.
eat
Um,
eat those whole grain carbs, man.
oh, I know, yeah, and electrolytes, yeah. But I think the big thing is like some people can be wrapped up in wanting to be needed, wanting to be accepted, wanting to be
Yeah.
validated for, and it becomes an identity to be stressed all the time.
Amen, man.
But
Amen.
it's your job on this earth isn't to be stressed. Your job on earth
Yeah.
isn't to be your job. Your job on this earth right now for yourself is, can you be the best?
Yeah.
People will be like, but I need to earn money. It's like, yes, but you need to earn money, but are you willing to give your health on the back burner for that?
Compromises. Yeah.
And there are
Yeah.
times where that needs to be done. I have done
Yeah.
it. I did it for the 2 years of
Yeah.
face-to-face
Building your
PT,
base. Yeah.
and then I did it for the lockdowns.
Yeah.
But now it's kind of like I found that balance. A hell of a lot
Yeah.
more happier. Sleep is a lot better. Stress is a lot better. Eating a lot better. Like we go through that stuff as well as PTs. Like it's very hard to say no to clients when you're full,
Yeah.
but you know that it's going to have an impact on your health and your mental health. So it's
Yeah.
not worth it, if you know what I mean. Like, so I'm really strict on my boundaries. I won't work past a certain time. I won't work on weekends. And I'm
Brilliant.
really strict on my social media.
Yeah, yeah, and just for anyone out there, like, how much longer do you want to use the excuse that you don't have time? Like, is that going to be your identity where you're just prioritizing other people over yourself? And is that a lifestyle you want to live? And as you said, there are seasons to everything. I've gone through it myself. A few rough years there, starting out, literally 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. at night and 10 minutes on the couch. That's what I look forward to every evening, but that's not sustainable. And sure, you can go through short bursts, but if you want kind of long-term longevity, you're in this for the long game. You got to be able to find time for yourself. And ironically, the better you are able to take care of yourself, the better you are to able to take care of others, whether that's in your work life, your relationships, your job, your family. it all kind of encompasses down to you. If you don't have 10 minutes for yourself, as Tony Robbins says, you don't have a life, because we all have 10 minutes. We all have time to get out for a morning walk. You can set the alarm 10 minutes earlier and go to bed 10 minutes, or set the alarm 10 minutes earlier and spend 10 less minutes at night, watching Netflix, as you were saying. So whatever you prioritize, it does get done. And amen to that, Shane, which is awesome. So Shane, we'll just kind of segue onto yourself now. So what are some of your current goals that you're working towards? I know you have this epic preseason coming up, Shane. Do you mind just sharing more about like what your training schedule looks like at the moment?
Yes, the training at the minute is kind of, I've got training with football. I think it's being ramped up to 2 days a week, and then a match probably preseason in about 2 or 3 weeks once the lads and we get a little bit fitter. And then at the minute with weights, it's probably 2 or 3 days a week. I don't think my body will take anymore. Like I generally, for probably the whole of 2022, I've only trained 3 days a week with weights. I don't really want to do anymore. I don't really feel like doing anymore. I used to do the 5 days a week, and it was great to a point, but I think 3 days a week for me is max. I enjoy walking so much more than I do with the weights training. I got a lot more out of it. It's kind of like my me time for myself. So I've got goals now with, there's been a lot of change in the company in relation to, I had two coaches working with me, decided to change the route that I was going down. So my goal is to ramp up or to keep the podcast going as is. Like I'm looking at the list of some of the guests that are coming on, and I'm really excited for those. And then in relation to the coaching, I've the one-to-one coaching, and I've launched, I think we're on the third or fourth intake of the female fat loss program, which is about a 6-week thing. So I'm pushing that and keeping that small numbers so that everyone gets looked after. I don't want that to be 500 people in it. I will get overwhelmed again. There's no point. I'm trying to, the reason I created it was I can help more people, so that people can get the proper education, getting them away from that kind of, I know it's 6 weeks, but it's not, I'm not going to promise 10 kg loss in 6 weeks.
Gotcha.
That's not my goal. It's trying to educate you that you can have your favorite foods and you'll get your goals and have your weekends and stuff. But at some stage you need to kind of like, a little, to kind of help yourself on that side of things. But yeah, they're the big goals. And then I literally bought a house about 4 months ago.
Oh, congrats.
It's about 5 months ago. Yeah. So trying to tick along with that. And then, a few holidays, a few trips, short trips away. They're kind of the big goals. So I have like, I try to break it into like a 5 F's kind of thing, as like fitness, finance, fun, family, focus. And
I love that. Awesome, brilliant, fantastic stuff, awesome stuff. And okay, Shane, so just before we finish up, we'll do kind of 6 rapid fire Q&A and then just 1 or 2 short questions. So just with the rapid fire then, Shane, what is one new habit you've implemented in the last year?
Morning walks.
I love it. Amen, brother. Best book you've read the last 6 months?
Ooh, that is a very tough question. Well, that's a very tough question. Is the wrong answer for this. Quick fire. I don't have a quick fire answer for this. I'm gonna have to look at it.
What's a book so you're currently reading, or you've read even the last few months, that you've enjoyed?
I think I enjoyed The Richest Man in Babylon was very, very good. How the Pill Changes Everything was very, very good. And I would say, and then and if anyone's looking for a book that will learn about kind of social media and stuff, Solar Focus by Johan Harion was good.
Oh, interesting.
And then Brian Keene's book, The Keen Edge, is very good for beginners.
Brilliant. Yeah, awesome. Super. When you hear the word successful, Shane, who's the first person that comes to mind?
Cristiano Ronaldo.
Legend.
Yeah, some people were like, is that successful? I'm like, yeah, he's been pretty successful for a lanky teenager that went to United at 18.
Yeah,
he's done all right.
1.6 million per sponsored post. What we actually learned at the summit there about 2 weeks ago. That's what someone was saying. So the man is doing well. Tell me, Shane, what's your favorite movie?
The Departed or Remember the Titans. I watched Remember the Titans last night. It was unbelievable.
You're pumped up.
Yeah, exactly.
The most underrated gym exercise that you feel most people should do more of.
Deadlift.
Amen. Love that. And last one of the rapid fire. Shane, what's one question you wish people asked you more of?
It's a very big question. That's a tough question. I know it's rapid fire, but I'm going to milk this one. What they could ask me? Can you repeat the question?
What's one question you wish people asked you more?
I don't know is the answer. I really don't know. What can I do to help myself? That's the question. That's the answer. What can I do to help myself?
And what can you do to help yourself?
Make you time.
Brilliant. Going back to that stress. Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Shane, I just want to acknowledge you. I love your message, man. Making freaking fitness fun again. People kind of see it as, it's got to be this restrictive, unenjoyable process. But as you've shown, it is 100% impossible, or possible, should I say, to enjoy your social life, eat foods that you enjoy, and get great results. It's just a case of understanding the how and the knowledge, the expertise to get you there. So, Shane, if you were to just give our listeners, I always like giving our listeners some form of a takeaway. As a former teacher, what would you say are like just 1 to 3 takeaways, Shane, that you would like our listeners to implement?
If you are a woman, I would recommend to track your cycle. Number 2 is a acronym that I robbed off the guy that coached me with PT was JBS, just be sound. To yourself, it takes more of an effort to be an asshole to yourself and to others. And number 3 is do some form of exercise that you enjoy.
Brilliant. Brilliant. And Shane, just finally, so last 2 questions. I'm big into like morning routines. I'm just curious, typically, Shane, what do the first 30 to 60 minutes of your day look like?
Walk, and so I'd walk and then I would listen to an audiobook on my walk, or else listen to when it's out, Peter Crouch's podcast, or I would listen to Tommy and Hector on a Thursday.
Yeah.
And then call my girlfriend. That's generally the first 90 minutes.
Brilliant. And I love the way you didn't mention, nothing against it, but you didn't mention maybe the radio or the news, because a lot of what comes out, what input comes out, it's out of your control there. Whereas at least you have a good idea of what to expect in the audiobook, what to expect in a podcast, if you're accustomed to listen to it. So something similar myself, Shane. I like that approach. And finally, Shane, because this is the Lifestyle Lifters show, what is your definition of living a successful lifestyle?
Putting yourself first more often. I don't think enough people do it. I think a lot of people are living their life. I did it for years. That was my issue when I had my mental health issue. I was people pleasing. People pleasing means that other people are more important than you. Think of it this way: if you're on an airplane, what's the first thing they say? Put your own mask on first. And even if you have kids, they tell you to put your mask on first. You have to look after yourself first. You can't be responsible or look after anyone else if you're not looking after yourself. So you are important.
Unreal. Shane, that was awesome. This has been fantastic. Just want to say again, thank you so much for being on, Shane. And just for all our listeners out there who want to learn a bit more about you, Shane, where's the best place that people can find more about you and what you offer?
Thank you so much for having me on, Adrian. Thank you again for coming to the talk in the Aviva a couple of weeks ago. That was amazing, and still a bit of a whirlwind. It still hasn't hit me yet. So if people are looking to find me on Instagram, it's at Shane Walsh Fitness. If people are looking to look for the podcast, it's the Shane Walsh Podcast. They can sign up. It's nearly 285 episodes or something. And then if people want to work with myself, I've got the female fat loss program, or else I've got my one-to-one coaching, and that could be DM, or else you go over to www.shanewalshfitness.com, and that will be where people can apply for coaching.
Awesome, Shane. I'll make sure that I'll post the links in the show notes. And I just want to say, for all the listeners out there, if you did get value from this, I mean, Shane dropped a lot of knowledge bombs here. So no doubt we've all got some form of value, some takeaway from it. Please share the show, share it on your stories, tag me, tag Shane at Shane Walsh Fitness on your IG stories, or just through word of mouth, good old fashioned word of mouth. This is how these podcasts, these shows grow. So Shane, thank you so much again. This has been an absolute pleasure and so great to meet you in the Aviva. Fantastic talk as well. Really, really enjoyed it. And yeah, just thanks again for coming on, Shane. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you so much for having me, Adrian.